All right, this concludes our adventure and our little time here and our having fun. So we'll see you guys next week as you get inducted as the bookends, okay? All right. Enjoy your book time.
Thank you,
Good night,
sir.
good night, Sigurd.
Yeah, all right. Good night. Whatever, man.
Welcome, Sojourner. You have found yourself a cozy place at Sojourners Awake. I'm Jonathan, and this is our production of The Bookish and the Brave. Continue to follow along with the bookends as they spend a year in the life at Bald Top Library. And so for now, our story continues.
You're heading in that night, and after completing your nightly chores, the first chill wind blows through, marking the beginning of winter. Each of you roll a d4. Hawkins and Sterling, you both come to the conclusion today is your birthday. As you're silently reminiscing these thoughts to yourself, Vaughn, busy in the room, you still share that bunkhouse room, one bunk missing, of course. Small little basin of water, a window to look out over the court of air. This magical room seems to be like an accordion in of itself. You've now realized this, that from the outside it appears like a small little tavern, maybe 1 or 2 stories, but as you go deeper into it, it expands like an accordion, and as you go one step, you would think that you'd run into a wall, and you see before you another series of stairs that just goes up and up and up. Stories just housing hundreds of travelers and pilgrims and witnesses in training. People such as yourself waiting to be let into the library with full access passes. You've got to know a couple of the patrons down in the dining hall. And as you're here privately celebrating your birthday, you all have a minute to go through your nightly routine. We'll begin with Hawkins.
He takes the Steel Defender as kind of a responsibility. He knows that it's gonna his father's gonna come collect it at some point, so he checks in on it every day, make sure no one's doing anything crazy with it. And as he goes down to it and sees it for the first time of the day, he kind of mutters, "Hey, fella, how's it going?" And when it hears his voice, a little port opens up out of the back and shoots out confetti. His parents set it up so that on his birthday it would give him a little birthday surprise.
It's beautiful. Sterling, you have no idea when your birthday is.
So Sterling's kind of looking at his star map on his neck, and he's noting the constellations that are in view right now. And that way he kind of remembers that was when they said they found him, was around that time when this particular star was showing. And so seeing that brings it full round, and he's had a whole year now at this place, which is an actual place where he's welcomed and has friends and actually feels, somewhat like he can be himself. So it's like he's just thinking back on the 18 years prior of just like this day not meaning much to anybody or anything, and now it's meaning a lot. So he's kind of in his feels a little bit.
Having just completed the month of Hunterton, or the sign of the Archer, we are now in the month of Mountain, or the Badger. And as this Badger constellation stares back at you, you know that it was roughly during some time this month, under the sign of the Badger, that you were born. As this Badger looks back at you, it signifies tenacity, protection, defense against hearth and home, against all who invade. Thoughts of taking care of Baldtop, protecting your home. What is home? Where is home? All these themes come rushing through your mind. As Vaughn, you walk through the door, getting ready for your nightly routine.
So part of Vaughn's nightly routine for the last month has been to have the guys lock the door, and he doesn't get to come into the room until he's opened the door without a key. So he's playing with the door handle, trying to pick the lock, and he's So this evening, you hear the door fly open, and Vaughn says, 17 seconds. That's one of my fastest. And then Vaughn puts his tools away in his pouch and heads over to the bed. Part of his nightly routine is sitting down with the book, for the book learning, and he sits down on his bed. And about 2 or 3 minutes in, depending on whether Hawkins or Sterling are both there in the room, he kind of leaves the book open in his lap and starts asking questions. Basically, like, what was I supposed to learn out of this book today? And tries to get these guys to explain it to him instead of spending time reading the book.
Please continue that.
So what was today's reading, Hawkins?
What pages were you on again? What chapter? What section?
I'm still on chapter 4. It says.
You mean you're on chapter 4 again?
Yeah. I'm still trying to. What chapter are you on?
Oh, I haven't picked up the book in a while. Let's see if I can remember what chapter 4 was about. You can't. Roll the 2 on an intelligence check.
Well,
the flame of the candle continues to flicker in the room.
Here, let me show you. I'm reading this part about. I think it's about procedure when somebody is in a hallway that they don't belong in, and who we're supposed to talk to or go to, or I don't know. I don't.
Oh, I remember that. All right. So when you're in one of the restricted sections, there will be a ribbon or some kind of coloring on the wall, just a little thin strip. And anyone who is allowed to be in there will be in robes of that color or higher. So if you see a green ribbon on the side, then hopefully you're on assignment there. Otherwise, you need to get out. But if you see anyone who is wearing green or yellow or orange, then they're fine. But anybody else, you have to escort them out, and then find out who they report to and make a report directly to their supervisor.
Okay, thank you. And then Vaughn closes the book.
Yeah, I can't believe it took them 12 pages just to say that.
Yeah, I've been trying to read that for weeks.
You should have asked earlier. It's not too hard once you ignore all the stuff that doesn't really matter.
How do you know what doesn't matter?
Well, I skimmed over it. They didn't use words that look important, so that's probably the important part.
I kind of don't think any words look important. That's why I ask you.
Sterling, next to your book, your stand, there's a couple books that have lined up. One of them, I Hate Beans, 100 Days Trapped with Nothing to Eat Except Beans and How to Survive on Them. The Art of the Quick Draw, How to Shoot First and Ask Questions Later. A Helping Hand, How to Learn Mage Hand Cantrip. And finally, Smell This, Practical Jokes for Trying Times, How to Learn Poison Spray. Various spells that you've tried to learn, but you have failed to learn a couple spells, and the information seems too high for your intellect.
So yeah, with those just not quite jiving with Sterling's kind of makeup, he kind of just throws them kind of exacerbated down and just picks up the book that he's been waiting to get, which is that Gins and How to Spot Them. He's been waiting a long time. He'd been on a waiting list, and he finally gets it, and he didn't look at it at all the first time that he was given it by Halal. And so when he opens, he hides it inside the book that he's supposed to be reading, and he opens it up, and it turns out it's a bit of like a storybook, like a kid's book. And it's the first story in there is actually the 3 Gins and the lady. And it's kind of like serendipitous that he's reading this on his birthday, and he's just like, that was one of the first stories that he heard from this group, and he's like really excited. And it's actually got pictures in it too. And so when it shows the flame djinn, it's like got this long, tall, like elven-like figure flickering with flames, red, and just looks kind of foreboding. And then it goes to the stone djinn, and it's this short, squat, just boring looking flame. But when he turns the page to the water djinn, he starts seeing some similarities in size, in the big flowing hair and beard, the kind of speckles of water on his skin that always seems to be there, and the pointy ears with the big lobes. And he's having kind of like, he's doing a double take. He's kind of seeing himself reflected on this page, and it's kind of blowing his mind a little bit.
All right. While you're reading this, I would like you to make a intelligence check with proficiency.
It's a 10.
10? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
While you're looking for this, you discover within the elemental plane of water, known as Water World by Bonsaro, there's a place called the Coral Kingdom, a region ruled by King and Queen Jonik and Cyrodiil Dayhorn. They are sea elves, as most of the kingdom is populated by sea elves. Unlike the 7 elven tribes that stayed here in Bonsarel to continue the teachings of the humans, these sea elves grew weary of the politics and the disputes, and they emancipated themselves to a completely different plane of existence. Having chosen Waterworld, they established Neptunia, a new region where they adopted a new religion and set up a kingdom in the chaos of the seas. Your eyes begin to get heavy as you're pouring through this late at night. Vaughn and Hawkins have already fallen asleep and gone to bed. The wind begins to pick up rather violently at night. The window left open, you feel a drastic drop in temperature. Icy cold, and you begin to see sleet falling down. How do you respond?
So as he starts seeing the sleet falling down and noticing that's kind of weird for this time of year, and also as the temperature drops, he can feel that water on his skin just kind of chill and kind of shrink it and kind of make him uncomfortable. He does get up to the window and have a look out to see if there's anything he needs to be worried about.
Indeed, a violent winter storm has made traveling and outdoor activity completely unbearable. People have huddled in. Snow and ice are caking on the court of air. Oh, it is no longer the court of air. It is the court of sheets of ice and slippery snow. The sleet begins to fall down heavier and heavier, and the wind nearly pushes you back, opening up the windows. You hear a wicked voice upon the air. A supernatural chill goes down your spine. And then you see people in parkas and cloaks begin to huddle outside the court of air. As I have described, you have a full view of it. And you see them clamoring back and forth, pointing, and they have a couple torches, and then the sleet just puts out the torches almost malevolently. One man begins to drop to his knees in absolute desperation. Another man picks him up and pulls him back inside, and the man reaches out towards the snow and the ice and the outside, and he calls out, "Christopher! Christopher!" And his friends pull him back into the dining hall.
Upon seeing that, he's going to start waking his friends. And hey, Hawkins, Vaughn, come see this. It's not normal. It's weird. What's going on outside?
What is it?
There's ice and sleet, and there's people are having a hard time getting inside, and I want to kind of check on them, make sure they're all right.
That came quickly.
Right? Very quickly, and I had this supernatural chill down my spine. It doesn't feel right, guys.
Vaughn will put on his robe and grab his short sword and be ready to walk out.
Yeah, Hawkins takes a moment to gear up, and he's kind of still bleary-eyed, but he's ready to go.
As you go downstairs, the scene is very obvious. You see a man, his parka now pulled back, and the other men trying to console him. A woman nearby looking at a map. He says, Christopher, he's gone. He's my son. You recognize this man as a pilgrim, a traveler who brought a very expensive, rare book in to gather some study, and he had brought his son along. You'd seen the little boy, about 8 years old, just playing around, and the father just saying, we were outside, we were just enjoying the fine night, and the storm came upon us. I looked, and he had disappeared, and he's not but this tall. He could be under the snow by now. He's got to be out there. You're not going out there right now. We will find someone to find the boy. Don't worry about it, but you're not going out. You would not survive for a minute. The temperatures are falling far below zero. It is not a natural storm.
Vaughn looks for somebody about his size that has a heavy cloak or another robe that he could throw over his robe. And when he identifies that person, he says, "You, give me your cloak."
Instinctively, of course. What? He hands you the parka, protecting you from the snow and the ice.
Vaughn throws it over the top and he shoots out the door. As he runs out the door, he just starts yelling, "Christopher! Christopher!" And he's running at full speed.
Sterling will follow behind because he saw where the young lad was out of the window and is going to be like going, "Hey, this way. And he's kind of taking the time to kind of harden his skin with a little ice on it to kind of keep the cold off and the warmth in.
And Hawkins is walking in the footsteps that these guys leave because the snow's up pretty high on him. So he's basically like leaping from footprint to another and cold.
As you push through the snow, I would ask Sterling, you mentioned it. Sterling and Vaughn, you're both looking. Make perception checks. High number winner.
Natural 20, 26.
Fantastic. Hawkins, if you'd make a constitution saving throw against this frigid air.
19.
19. You were going for a 10 and you bolster yourself with strength as you're pushing on. Or maybe it just hasn't gotten that cold yet. You can almost feel the temperature and the pressure dropping. Sterling, you're the first to see it. There is a very distinct, unnatural, perfect line of sweet treats that have been barely covered by the snow and the ice, leading towards the workshop, Helping Hands workshop.
Hey, this is weird. There's some sweets that are leading this way, guys. I don't know why they would be out here, but I think we should follow them.
If there's a kid out here, he probably would want those.
You think he's following them, or you think he left them behind? Well, I guess either way, that's the direction we ought to go.
Hawkins, as you head into this very familiar area, you notice that you're now in the stables as the candies led up to there, and suddenly the trail goes cold. You see that one of the stable doors is held open by a strange spectral grip. A fist just sits there. You recognize the spell easily as Mage Hand, just sitting there holding open the stable door.
That's not normally there.
Been trying to learn that spell. That's Mage Hand. I read it in a book.
It sure is, but I don't know whose Mage Hand it is.
Well, it's not mine, unfortunately. As I said, I didn't do very good at it.
If I remember right, the caster can't be far away. I don't know that it's malicious yet, but let's be on guard.
Vaughn's gonna run up and push the door open with his foot and just kind of wave his sword through the Mage Hand like he can dispel it that way.
As you push the door, the Mage Hand instantly drops simultaneously as your sword clears through. The pressure of the door being released, the Mage Hand now released, it just simply floats away and dispels. And you see that there's a couple of goats. One small goat has yet to leave the stable. Now they are missing and running about. 4 goats running around the stables looking for something to drink. The trough now completely going frozen solid.
No Christopher in here.
You don't see anyone, no. You do see a couple strange shards of ice that have collected together like crystals growing in a field.
Sterling, come here and look at this. Tell me what you think.
This is unusual for it to be inside. It does seem supernatural. But yeah, I should be able to identify it.
Make a religion check.
Oh, it's not good. I think it's 6.
This looks like nothing you recognize and fails to come to you now. And in fact, it was on a class that Sylvia was teaching, but you were either busy dreaming or something and thinking of something else, but it was on another plane of existence and it eludes you now.
Yeah, I think I remember something about this, but it was a while ago. It doesn't seem like it's from Bonzero.
Well, we need to find Christopher. Vaughn's going to turn around and look elsewhere.
Vaughn, immediately you are led into the hay area, the place where the hay is kept to feed the goats and the cows and everything. All the animals kept here in the stables. The mechanical lion nowhere in sight, of course. Hawkins is being repaired. And you see that, again, these small little tracks of frozen ice are now getting larger, and they're sticking out of the hay like spikes.
Here are some more, guys. I don't know what to make of it, but I still think we need to be moving on to find the child if we don't see him in here.
Hawkins.
Is there a loft? Like a hay loft?
Yes.
He will climb up the ladder and at least have a higher vantage point. I'm sure that's going to block his view of a lot of things too, but he'll go up.
And I shall see what Sterling is doing as well. Do you have any questions? Do you do anything?
He's trying to see where these tracks lead.
Okay. The tracks lead straight to that crystal formation, just this larger clump of ice. They seem to grow in perpetual size. Hawkins, as you look up, there's this grinning, wicked Jack Frost of a face looking at you in the loft now that you've lifted up your head, your body, and it's got its hand cupped around a small boy's mouth. And he says to you in a very broken form of common, assuming you might be a human, he says,
"One step closer, and the boy dies."
The boy looks at you with wide-eyed fear as the icy claws stick deeper into his cheeks.
"Tell your friends to leave."
Vaughn, Sterling, make a perception check.
22.
Ooh.
10 for me.
All right, Vaughn, you're unable to hear this, but Sterling, you pick up on this fell voice speaking to Hawkins, informing you to leave. Hawkins, how do you respond?
Now, do you promise that as long as I don't take a step forward, you're not going to hurt him?
"I do not promise. He's mine, and he will feed the goddess of winter."
And you see that the boy's body temperature is dropping. His lips are starting to go blue, and the creature, this ice mephit, seems to almost grow in size the more he siphons off the ability of the young man.
Now, why don't you, he'll sort of hold up his hands disarmingly. He's not stepping forward yet, but he says, "Why don't you come over to me? You see, I have this source of heat inside me. If you're looking for some body heat or something, you might find," and he sort of stomps his foot a little bit to try to get the guy's attention, and starts to speak a little bit louder. "You might find that I might make a better meal for you if eating's what you're doing. I'm not real sure."
Vaughn, as you back up, you're now aware that there is an ice creature that has come to attention. They all seem to react in the same way. This gangly looking thin creature with a horribly long nose and hollow eyes, the icy breath. He stares at you, just ready to pounce, but in a very defensive position.
It's another one. It's an additional one?
Yeah, one you've just now seen. He's right on the floor level with you.
Vaughn would face off with him and then say, "Hawkins, there's another one down here."
Sterling, one erupts from that little ice, and they now form together these shards, piecing together like a puzzle this creature from the elemental plane of ice.
staring for you. He says, "The goddess of winter demands a prize tonight. The little boy will be just fine on feeding us. Maybe this other small person as well." Considering your offer, Hawkins, it's a daring and bold adventure. I would like you to make a persuasion check.
Right, here we go. That will be a 7.
Believe it or not, it's somewhat enough, as you've really hit the nail on the head. You've identified what they want. He's going to look at you and look at the boy and say,
"Perhaps there's enough for all of us then. Step down, fellow."
and he begins to move towards you as if he's going to climb down the ladder with you.
As long as he's leaving Christopher?
Nope, he's still got Christopher in his hands.
Gotcha.
Sterling and Hawkins, Sterling and Vaughn, you can now see the situation. These 3 creatures, you 3, the boy in the grip of 1, forming a triangle.
Conversation.
Yeah, forming a triangle, and you have heard this conversation.
Hey, give me the boy, and you can eat my friend.
That might be fine, but he doesn't look like much of a mouthful. He's about the same size. Perhaps we could just have double.
How about you give my friend the boy, and you can eat me?
Okay, Vaughn, make your persuasion check.
19.
Okay, one of them begins to stroke your calf and say,
"If he's serious, it would be better. He's got more stamina. RL would be greatly pleased."
One kind of looks at the boy and scratches the side of his face, and the frost forms on the blood. And he pushes the boy in Hawkins' hands. Hawkins, make your dexterity save. See if that balancing beam came into play.
Natural 20, so 22.
Oh, you indeed. Please, with flair, describe how you saved this boy.
Hawkins is not expecting him to be sort of tossed in his direction, and the boy has barely any ability to stand on his own. So as he comes crashing into Hawkins, he takes a step back, but he's on the edge of the loft. So fortunately, behind him is a beam running across the building, and he sort of accepts the weight of Christopher as he takes a couple steps back and realizes he's completely standing on the beam, and sort of leaning to one side with Christopher leaning out the other side, and he starts to make his way back. No front flips, though.
So Vaughn would, the instant Christopher was safe in Hawkins' hands, he would be swinging his sword.
Nice. Okay, let's roll initiative then. Hello, Sojourner. This is Jonathan with Sojourners Awake. I hope you're enjoying this exciting adventure that we are having at Bald Top Library. If you ever want to get more intense Dungeon Master guidance, if you are a beginner Dungeon Master or perhaps even a Dungeon Master experiencing burnout, consider taking my Table Master course. I've gotten lots of really good reviews on it. You can find it at www.sojournersawake and click on Dungeon Master Burnout, or click on any of the products that I offer. This is basically just one-to-one intense guidance with me over Zoom calls, helping you design your own adventures, helping you design your world, basically helping you do what you love, and provide a wonderful game for your family and friends as you gather around the table. Well, thanks for taking the time to listen. Now back to the adventure.
6.
Okay. Ooh, okay. The one looking at you, Hawkins, he's 5 feet up the ladder. So that's why he's got some distance. Okay, let me roll for them. Of course it is, 17.
Well, that means we haven't done anything aggressive yet, right?
I asked you to roll initiative because Vaughn changed it
Okay.
from a situation to a hostile situation. Vaughn, the one, makes an attack against you. It sees that you are now he says,
"It's a trick! It's a trick! Every man for himself."
and the creature is going to do its blinding breath against you. Please make a dexterity save. All of you. You're going for a 10 or higher.
That's a natural 1 again.
Ooh, okay, cool.
You're trying to die.
Sterling. All right, fail. Okay, so if you made a 10, you succeeded. So this blinding ice breath hits you at the last minute and blinds each of you, with the exception of Hawkins. Hawkins, you do something to instinctively move away.
He basically just ducks behind Christopher.
Christopher, indeed, is blinded. Poor boy lying on the ground. With you being blinded, you have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks requiring sight. The other one is going to make an attack against you, Sterling. That's going to be at advantage. And he is just simply going to do his claw attack against you. Oh, that's a natural 20. Good gosh. Okay. 5 points of slashing damage to you. Icy thing goes across you. The other one, Hawkins, seeing you, leaps off the ladder and just dive bombs into you, both claws on top of you, but of course, not being able to do anything with advantage since you so deftly did a tumble down the ladder and you shielded your eyes from the blinding breath. Still, that is going to be a 15 to hit you.
Beats.
Okay. It lands on top of you and does 5 points of slashing damage. With all the creatures having taken their turn, who is up next?
Hawkins.
All right, Hawkins, you find yourself back against the ground, Christopher next to you. Christopher is still alive, but you can see the frost has caked his eyes and he's just panicking, holding his arms out, crying for his father. And this ice method, for all practical reasons, is on top of you.
All right. Well, that rules out the crossbow. So he will unsheath his short sword and sort of try to stand up if he can, if that seems like a thing that's possible to do. And he will poke at him with the short sword. That is a natural 1.
Oof. Going to the side, the creature grabs the blade and it just frosts over. And he just clamps it on the side and says, "Steel tastes nothing good. Give us the flesh, your vitality of life." Anything else, Hawkins?
I think that's going to be all.
Next up.
Mine was a natural 1, but I ended up with a 5 total, so.
Okay.
Is it me?
It's you, yeah.
All right. I am going to attack. I'm going to attack this guy next to me with disadvantage.
Okay. Going for a 12.
I'm going to swing my sword first. Nope, that's going to be a 10. And then I can't see, but I'm going to then try to punch him twice. That one's good. So that is, that's 16 to hit for 6 points of damage.
Ouch.
And the second punch is 14 to hit for 7 points of damage.
13 total. Oh, this creature is completely decimated. So describe how you blindly take out this monster.
So Vaughn he's kind of moaning, but he remembers which way that creature was. So he swings his sword, and when he swings his sword, it's a little bit. He feels how it moves. It just because of the connection with his sword, he can feel how it just kind of barely missed the creature. And because of that, he could tell where the creature was. So as the sword swings through, then he comes back around with a couple fists in the spot that he knows now that this creature is. And it's so quick that he doesn't have a chance to move out of the way. So the first fist hits him in the one side of his face, and then the second fist, when it comes back through, goes straight through its frozen head.
Oh. And as this creature dies, it bursts into shards of ice, and you were the first to experience this. So please make a dexterity saving throw.
That's going to be a 24.
All right, you only take 1 point of damage as this shard just hits you right in your blinded eye. But you know that as this creature is wrest from this existence, its explosion happens in about a 5 to 10 foot radius.
If I have an opportunity to move, I will. I'm sure it's difficult terrain because I can't see, but I will turn around and walk towards where the guys are that I know, and say, "Where's another one?"
You can hear easily enough. And how do you respond, Sterling? What direction do you lead him to?
So Sterling, when he gets blinded, he closes his eyes just like he's been doing for the last year, and he sees the room perfectly because it's like his perception has just been increased. He knows where everyone is, and so he just says, "One of them's on Hawkins." And with that, though, he will kind of, as I said, his face is serene. He can see the one clearly in front of him, even though he's kind of blind because he knows it's right there. And his eyes start flickering, and he casts Shillelagh on his quarterstaff, and he uses his portent of a 16 to automatically hit because he knows where it is, and he's just swinging for the fences with his quarterstaff. And he is going to do 6 points of damage.
Ouch. This creature smirking at you, having just iced you with the breath, just gets cracked on the shoulder with this wonderful quarterstaff. Anything else, Sterling?
No, that's all he's got.
All right, top of the round, they're going for you guys again. So here we go. Sterling, you're still blinded. It's going to be a 14 to hit you.
That's a hit.
Okay. 4 points of damage. Hawkins. This one's going to attack you. You are not blinded. And that's going to be a 8 to hit.
Nah.
It creates this like icy slick terrain. It goes to slide against you. At the last minute, you just move and it just slides right underneath you. And once again, y'all are tangled in a mess between each other. It looks like it wants your vitality or life, and you're just not providing an easy target. Next up in the initiative.
Hawkins, as sort of part of dodging the brunt of that attack from the ice mephit, turns around and sees Christopher laying there, not in good shape. He saw the explosion of the other ice mephit, so he's going to move into a position to cover him. Mm-hmm. And while he's down next to Christopher, he'll use his day's cure wounds, assuming this is a different day than we were doing the training. So he will cast Cure Wounds on Christopher, giving him 6 hit points, unless I'm not rolling it right, in which case it's only 2.
You bring him back to life, and you watch his vitality come back. He almost seems to flush with warmth at this creature. Then he looks at you and says, "Oh, you've got a toy lion. That's cool. Shh. Look out behind you." Next up in the initiative.
So Vaughn is going to say again, "Where is it?" If he can sense where it is, he'll swing at it, but he doesn't want to accidentally hit one of his friends.
You have your other senses. You can almost feel the cold of this creature from another plane.
Okay. So he's going to, because he knows that they're from another plane, he's going to say duck. And then he's going to swing his sword at what would be above Hawkins' head level for sure.
Nice. Go with disadvantage.
Still at disadvantage.
Yep.
That's a 12 to hit.
Right on the money.
Okay, and that's going to be max damage. That's 10 points of sword damage.
You cut through it like a golf club. Just lop off a piece of ice. It sprays in the area, and then when it gets close to Hawkins, it just melts into water, splashing upon his face.
So it's dissipated?
No.
It's still there. Okay, if he senses that it's still around, he's going to then punch it again. So he's going to then come back around with his fist and try to finish the job. That is a miss, but the second fist is another 12 for 7 points of damage.
Having cut through that one, you notice the blade cleaving through the ice nice and smooth, but when you hit it with your fist, you just crack it from the inside out, and like a weak bone, it just shatters. But it's still standing up at this time, but looks really in pain. Next up in the initiative.
Yeah, with the raw and kind of feeling again where that one is. From where he hit before, he's going to swing in the same place, but this time with disadvantage. to see if he can hit. Oh, no. No, he misses. It's a 9.
You swing, you miss. The creature stays still standing there, ready to sap your vitality. Do you stay your ground? Do you
Yeah,
move?
he knows where the Hawkins was behind him, and he doesn't want to. He heard the cure wounds. He doesn't want to trip over anyone. And since he can't see, he's just kind of holding his ground, defending them.
Okay. I bet you hear the Mephit shout,
Get the small, vulnerable one. It's much easier. Then we can get out of here. Good idea, brother.
next up in the initiative. One of them is going to go around and try to take the boy from your hands, Hawkins. Sterling, that gives you one opportunity attack.
Oh, that opportunity with disadvantage, right?
Yes.
So 9 plus 2, it's 11. It's not enough.
Miss. Swings to the side. He is going to try and pull the boy out of your hands.
He will give a shout to Hawkins and use his second portent and impose a 5 on that. As in, like, Hawkins, he's going to try and grab him.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay. Hawkins, you have to beat a 5 athletics check then.
Roll the 15.
Yeah, you see it coming from Hawkins. You're just working together. Great. Just having recognized Sterling's voice as he calls out in a blind fashion. You move the boy the last time, and the Mephit looks. No one's standing there except you. And he has both hands on your shoulders instead, with a surprised look on his face. The other one goes to attack you, Hawkins. Doesn't quite leave your area, Vaughn, so no opportunity attack. Man, he goes to hit Hawkins with a 5. He swings aside and just punches a hole right through his brother, doing some damage. 2 points of damage to his brother. And at the top and next in the initiative, who would it be?
Hawkins again.
You're all within 5 feet of each other now.
Well, 1 second. I have one of my feats says that when a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against a target other than you, and that target doesn't have the sentinel feat, I can use my reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature.
Go for it.
So as that thing is moving towards Hawkins, I'm going to try to smack him with my sword. Still at disadvantage, but that is a 13 for 10 points of damage.
And that is enough. As he goes to smash through his brother, he looks at you. Vaughn, you clear off his head completely, and he melts into a puddle of ice. His brother now standing, looking at Hawkins, having taken the wrath of his brother, just his ice just splatters across his face, and he says, "Uh-oh." Well done, Vaughn. Hawkins, it is now your turn. Oh, and that creature... Oh, shoot. Okay, that creature dies, so Boy, Hawkins, and Vaughn make a dexterity saving throw. DC 10.
Hawkins is he's still in a position to shield the boy.
Yeah, here's what I'll do. I'll let you roll a dexterity save and then trade places with the boy.
Okay.
It's a 15 for me.
20 non-natural.
Yeah, you instinctively protect the boy. His failure becomes your success. Your success becomes his failure. And you take 6 points of ice damage.
Okay.
Yeah, you lay yourself over this young boy's body, and the ice just pings your back.
Do I take half or do I get nothing?
You do take half, so that would be 3. Yeah. Okay, Hawkins. Now it is your turn.
So the boy has just said to him a moment ago, "You have a toy lion." He pulls out that toy lion and activates the feature that gives him health, his second wind. And he recovers 4 hit points from the fighter second wind feat. And then he takes his short sword and tries to stab the ice Mephit that's left. That is a 12 to hit.
12 is hitting right on the money.
And 6 damage.
6 damage. It stumbles for a minute, and its knee completely knocked off. It drops to the ground, and you can see it swirling in small little collection of snow. And it sinks and sinks lower. Vaughn, it is now your turn.
Can I sense where they are?
With sight being your primary sense, what I'll let you do is let's just do a perception check to see if your other senses are activated. Yeah, you can hear him, smell him, you can almost taste him. You know exactly where he's at.
So Vaughn's moving over, and he's going to swing his short sword again. It's been helping him. So still at disadvantage because he still can't see. That is a 12 to hit for 7 points.
And with that, Vaughn, please describe how you resolve this situation.
So Vaughn crushed one with a fist, lopped the head off of the next one, and he just decided that swinging the sword through the head was the right idea. That's what he's kind of been doing the whole time. And the time that the sword didn't hit was when he put his hand through his head. So, just chopped right through his head.
And this creature explodes, and yet another shard of ice with all of you, including Christopher, being in the 5-foot radius. Please make your dexterity saving throw.
It's an 11.
Success.
22.
6. Sterling, you get hit, sprayed across the side of the face with another 6 points of damage. Vaughn, Hawkins, are you doing the same thing?
You moved out of position to attack.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so Christopher's going to roll then. He gets a 12. He gets a 12. So he takes 3 points of damage, leaving him at 1 hit point. The ice just freezes to the side of him right as he said, "Oh, you're lying, lights." The ice just splinters him. He cries out in just absolute pain, yelling for his father, freezing and dropping. Each of you make a Constitution saving throw.
22.
18.
19.
You've all withstood this horrible blizzard from the goddess of winter. Somehow it crept into Baldtop, made its way as these rogue methods sought a way to seek a small, innocent, and vulnerable victim to sap its vitality. Christopher, barely conscious, freezing. This room now completely empty of all ice, just covered in snow, the goats still wandering about. The blizzard starts to dissipate a little bit as that last method disappears. How do you finish out this day?
Vaughn can't see anything, but he knows that he's taller and he has double robe on basically. So he asks, he puts out his hands and he says, "Give me the boy."
Hawkins helps Christopher to his feet and over to Vaughn.
Vaughn will pick him up and hug him, like cuddle him basically, and then wrap both robes around him and hold them closed with the hand behind him. So he's in that warmth and he's getting the body heat from me.
As you rush back outside, you notice the storm is starting to slowly dissipate, and you see that there are wardens and witnesses waiting outside. Kalan quickly sees you in his robes. He's calling after you in his purple robes, and he sees you and pulls him in and says, "Did you find him? You found Christopher." And they bring the young man to his father and get him medical attention as soon as possible. His father
see yet?
Yes, yeah. The frost begins to melt from your eyes, and you slowly are able to regain your sight. Kalan looks to you and says, "You are indeed the defenders of Baldtop, but today you became the defender of the pilgrims." He looks at each of you and says, "And dare I say, that boy is more valuable than all the wisdom in the world." And so for now, our story concludes.
Every story comes to an ending. So for now, we conclude. Thank you for listening along, Sojourners. Your attention will not go unrewarded. And we look forward to continuing this adventure. If you enjoy this background music and ambiance, you should visit Tabletop Audio. You can find them at www.tabletopaudio.com. Take the time to sojourn with us. For articles on playing Dungeons & Dragons, visit www.sojournersawake.com. You can also find us at Sojourners Awake on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, Sojourner, may your story continue. Here we have a bonus segment of Vaughn's Stars and Wishes.
All right, Ted, what about you, man? Stars and wishes.
Man, that was a fun fight, Jonathan.
Good.
That played out well. That was a good time. I liked being blinded and having to roll with disadvantage. That was cool. And I went through most of the good stuff I've got, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Let's see here. My stars. Well, I think Sterling's interaction with Sylvia, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I died." That was awesome. And then he goes on and flirts with her by telling her the story of how he died and all the goofiness and stuff. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think for Brandon, when Hawkins went out to the Defender, and the lion pooped out confetti for his birthday. That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as wish goes, I think with the 7 points you gave us, we're pretty overpowered as second level characters. But my wish is to see how this plays out, because none of us are, with the exception of the magic that Sterling has, none of us are huge damage guys at the higher levels. So it'll be really interesting to see how this whole thing plays out.